Okay, yeah. So the first thing that we are going to look into is the opening stock. So like when Bala was explaining, like he had told you how to give the opening stock and the opening stock rate per item. But in the chat, like few of them had mentioned that they weren't able to get that track inventory option. So I'll tell you where you can enable the inventory tracking if at all that is not enabled yet. Okay, so for that, like from your dashboard, you can just go to settings and you can click on preferences and then choose items. So here under items, you will have a checkbox for enable inventory tracking. So once you enable this option, it will ask you for the inventory start date. So you can also enable this option and then you can just save it. Okay, and then yeah, like we saw how to give the opening stock. So whenever you create a opening stock, whenever you create an item, you can give the opening stock and the opening stock rate per unit. And most of the businesses, they will also require to set a reorder point. So whenever the stock goes below a certain point, you might want to get a notification. Okay, so for that, like what you can do is you can just go to settings, preferences, and then you can click on items. So here we have an option to set the reorder point. So we can check this box and we can set the email address to which the notification needs to be sent. And a few of them had also asked about the landed cost in the chat and the questions tab. So I'll take you through a short brief of that, even though that is not there in our agenda today. We'll still walk through that options as well. Okay, so yeah, first of all, like see, when it comes to a purchase cycle, so there are two ways to handle it. One way is like usually some companies they'll be recording the purchase bills directly, and few other companies they'll be raising a purchase order first, and then they'll be converting that purchase order to a bill. So here we'll see both the scenarios. So what you will have to do is you can just go to the purchase module and you can click on purchase orders. So here you'll be able to create a new purchase order by clicking on plus new. So once you click on plus new, you can choose the vendor. Okay, so when you choose the vendor, immediately you'll get to see whether if that customer is within the country or if he is out of the country, and you'll see the respective tax treatments. So basically, this you would have noticed when Bala was explaining. Okay, so when you create a new vendor, you'll see an option to choose the VAT tax, the tax treatment. Okay, so and similarly, at the time of creating the customer or the vendor, you can also choose the currency in which you would like to transact with that particular customer. Okay, so for example, like if I'm going to purchase from a vendor who is from non-GCC, let's say he is from United States. So I'll just create a contact for him by the name Eric, and I'll choose the tax treatment as non-GCC. So please be noted that see, this is one of the major options which helps you to go with the VAT compliance. Okay, so if you choose a wrong tax treatment, then the suggestions that Zoho Book shows you will be related to that tax treatment. So make sure that you choose the right tax treatment. So the organization which we are using right now is for a UAE edition. If you are choosing, if you have created an organization with Saudi Arabia or Bahrain or any other Middle East countries, so the respective editions will be chosen and the tax treatments will be shown for you accordingly. And yeah, when you create a contact, if you would like to choose, give a default exchange rate, you can give that over here. And yeah, even when you create a transaction, you'll have the flexibility to change the exchange rate. So now we'll go ahead with creating a transaction. So right now, what Mr. Abdul is doing is like he is purchasing from a vendor from US. Okay, so he's let's say he's purchasing 10 units of Canon 300D. So we had already enabled the inventory tracking for this item, like when Bala had created the item. So currently, after the sale which happened, the stock on hand is 7. So right now, let's say we purchase another 10 units of this item. So I'll give the purchase as, the quantity as 10 and the rate respectively. And I'll also choose another item, let's say the same item tripod, and I'm purchasing, let's say 5 units of this item. So it will show me the current stock on hand, like whatever I have before I record this purchase. Okay, so I can give the respective rate and I can save it. And if you notice one thing, right now I'm not getting the option to choose the tax here. Okay, so this is because the tax treatment that I've chosen for this vendor is non-GCC. If at all I choose a different tax treatment over here, okay, so Zoho Books will give me the suggestions to choose the respective uh, tax treatment. So let me choose as VAT registered. In that case, it will show me the tax rates. So since this is a US customer, the tax treatment here is going to be non-GCC. And yeah, if I'm purchasing a good from other country, so I'll be clearing the customs and then importing the goods into the country. So in this case, like what comes into play is a bill of entry. So I'll also walk you through that option later in the session. So if at all this transaction is eligible for reverse charge, you can enable this. The reverse charge option over here should be enabled only when it is a service item. Okay, so if it is a good, then you will have to create a bill of entry. Okay, so if you choose the reverse charge option, that is the reverse charge mechanism, so you will get an option to choose the respective tax rate. And if you uncheck this, it will be grayed out. So right now I'm going to purchase goods. So I'll just proceed with it. I'll just save it as a draft. So now let's say that I've issued this purchase order to the vendor and I'm marking this as issued. Okay, and after that, like I've received the goods from the vendor. So now I'll have to convert this to a bill. So what I'll do is I'll just convert it to a bill. So while converting it to a bill, I'll just give in the basic information. So if there is a different exchange rate, I can mention it over here. At the time of the purchase, like when I'm issuing a bill, the purchase rate might be different. And at the time of the payment, like it is not necessary that the payment will be made immediately. It could also be like even after a week or a month, depending on the terms with the vendor. So in such cases, like you can give a different exchange rate when you're recording the payment. So while I'm purchasing, the exchange rate is 3.65. Okay, so I'll just save this as a open transaction. So once I save this as an open transaction, if I go to the items and check the two items, that is Canon 300D. So earlier the stock on hand was 7. After I recorded the purchase of 10 units, the stock on hand went to 17. Okay, and if I have set the reorder point for this item, so that I will be able to do it over here. Okay, actually I haven't enabled the reorder point, so let me just enable that option. Preferences, items. So if I choose this, if I edit the item now, I will have an option to give the reorder point. So whenever my stock on hand reaches this quantity, I'll be notified. And it will also show me the I can also choose the preferred vendor from whom I would like to purchase it. Okay, so you'll be getting that as an email notification. Okay, so now we saw how to create a purchase order and then how to convert that to a bill. So the next thing like you will have to do is to record a vendor payment. So now that we have recorded a purchase bill, so we'll just go to the purchases module, choose the bill. Okay, now we are going to make a payment. So what you will have to do is you can just click on record payment, and at the time of recording the payment, you can give the exchange rate as on that day. So if there is any difference in the exchange rate, I can mention that amount and I can just save it. So this difference, the difference in the exchange rate, that is for the bill and the payment, will be calculated in the exchange gain or loss account by default. Okay, so you can just save this. So like I had told you, see, for this particular transaction, like we are purchasing it from a different country. So this will be going through the customs and then we'll be importing it into the country, which means I'll have to create a bill of entry for this bill. So for that, like from this bill, I can just go to more and I can create a bill of entry. So here I can give the bill of entry number and the date and the pay through. So the pay through here is essentially for the charges that you have paid to the customs, like the custom duty and the additional charges. So for this item, like whatever is the charges, I can mention that over here and associate the taxes for that. So once I do, what will happen is in your VAT return report, that is for the UAE VAT return report, since this is a UAE edition, in box number 6, it will show you as a good imported into UAE. Okay, and yeah, if at all I need to allocate the custom duty as a landed, as a landed cost, I can do that too. And yeah, you can choose the respective options here. Okay, so this is basically how you create a bill of entry. So the next thing that we'll look into is the inventory adjustment. Okay, so see when there is a stock, okay, so sometimes there are chances where there might be a mismatch in the stock count. Okay, so that is the stock on your hand might either be a bit higher or it could be a bit lower due to various reasons. So that might not essentially have a transaction, like you might not have a purchase transaction or a sales transaction. So in that cases, you can just go to the items module, choose inventory adjustment, and pass a item adjustment for that particular item. So I can just choose the item. I can give the new quantity on hand. Let's say I have 15. Let's say two of them are broken. So that is gone. So I'll just save it and I can make the adjustment based on quantity or based on value. Okay, and I'll just save it. Okay, so now if I go to this particular item, that is the Canon item, if you notice, the stock still shows here as 17, but I had made an adjustment. That is because the adjustment which I made right now was for value and not for the quantity. So this will essentially have an impact in the inventory asset value. Okay, so that is when I run my inventory reports. Okay, so this is basically how Abdul manages his purchase. Okay, so now what we'll do is like you can try it on your side. You can try creating a purchase bill, or you can also create a purchase order and then convert that to a purchase bill and record a payment for that. So you can take some time and you can create the transaction. And if at all you have any queries or if you're facing any issues, you can let us know over the chat or the questions tab. Okay, so we'll also have that addressed. Following this, I'll also walk you through the landed cost option on a brief way. So I'll just have a quick overview on the landed cost option too. And yeah, there are few other options as well. So if you notice, like see, sometimes like when you raise a purchase order for multiple quantity, okay, so it might not necessarily be like you will be receiving all those items in a single bill. Okay, so there are chances where you'll be receiving it as multiple shipments from your vendor. In that case, when you convert the purchase order to a bill, you can just convert the items partially. So you can remove that particular item. Whatever you are going to receive, you can just save that and you can convert the remaining as a bill. So once you do this, the purchase order will become partially paid. Like it will not be a fully completed order, but it will be partially billed. Okay, and when you record a purchase bill, so when it is marked as an open transaction, if you scroll to the bottom, you'll also see the journal entries for that. And if you notice, like there are default accounts like the GCC VAT payable account, in which the net VAT payable or the claimable VAT or any other VAT related things will be tracked. So we have default accounts like the input VAT, the output VAT, GCC VAT payable. Okay, so in these accounts, like depending on the transactions that you create, the the net VAT payable or the net VAT claimable will also be tracked. Okay, so I hope you have created the purchase order. And yeah, like you also see here, see the VAT rate will be depending. I mean, you'll be getting the suggestions for the VAT rate based on the VAT treatment and the place of supply that you choose. So this will differ for each and every edition, that is for different countries. So depending on your country that you have chosen, you'll be getting the respective suggestions. So I hope everyone has tried creating a transaction. So we'll move on to the next option. Okay, so yeah, before we get into the reports, I'll quickly take you through the landed cost option. Like since few of them have asked us over a chat, I'll quickly take you through that option as well. So see, first of all, for the landed cost, like we'll have to enable it from the settings. Like we'll have to go to settings, preferences, items, and over here, if you scroll down, you will have an option to track the landed cost for the item. So you can just check that box and you can save it. So let's say that, see, right now I have created a purchase bill for Mr. Eric, like who I've purchased from US. Okay, so for this particular purchase, there are some additional charges for me. Like there is a company who's helping me in the import, like some shipping charges. So I'll be creating a separate bill for that. Let's say the shipping charges is from the company of FedEx. So I'll just choose FedEx. I'll give non-VAT registered, and I'm transacting with them in AED. So I'll just save this and I'll give a bill number and the bill date. So since this shipping charges is a landed cost for me, okay, so this is not, I mean, I'm not supposed to add this as a regular line item here. Instead, I will have to add as a landed cost, give the shipping charges over here. I'll give the rate. I'll choose the tax for that. And then I'll just save it as open. So it seems like I missed out a few fields. So yeah, I'll choose the account. So since I'm choosing it as a out of scope, it is asking me for the reason. I'll fill in the necessary details. And yeah, so now that I've created a shipping charge bill, so I will have to allocate this landed cost, I mean this as a landed cost to the purchase bill. So for this, what I'll do is I'll just go to the purchase bill which I've recorded from Eric, and I'll click on more and click on allocate landed cost. So I'll choose the vendor, FedEx, and it will show me the bill number. So I can choose the bill number and choose the item, and I can allocate the landed cost based on quantity or based on value. And I'll just save it. Okay, so now the landed cost has been allocated for this particular bill. So you'll be able to see the details over here. Okay, so now we'll move on to the next one. So yeah, we have a lot of reports, like we have more than 50 plus reports in Zoho Books by default. So depending on your requirement, you can check and see like which report will be suitable for your need. So if you feel that you need more options, we also have other customization options, which we'll cover on a later part. I mean, on a later date. Okay, so yeah, if we go to the reports, see by default we have the business overview reports. Okay, so we have the P&L, cash flow, balance sheet, and other reports. For the sales, we have sales by item, sales by customer, and other receivable reports. So we have purchase reports as well. Okay, so we have purchase by item, purchase expense by category, expense by customer, aging details report, vendor balances report. So we have lot of different reports which will give you a insight on your financials at that point of time. And further in each of these reports, if you notice, like you can just click on customize report and you will have lot of customization options. So depending on your requirement, once again, you can choose which fields you would require and what kind of filters you need to add, and you can run the report based on that. And then yes, we have the VAT tax reports, like the tax return report, VAT audit report, excise report, and we also have the activity log and the other reports. So depending on the transactions that are done in this particular organization, you'll be able to see all the reports over here. So one thing that we need to focus in this session is the VAT return report. So, like I told you, this is a VAT, I mean, UAE edition of Zoho Books. So we'll be getting the UAE VAT return report over here. So if you have created a Saudi Arabian edition or a Bahrain edition or a, or a edition which is compatible with Zoho Books, like for example, like UAE, I mean, Oman and Kuwait and all does not have VAT implemented as of now. So once it is implemented, we'll be coming up with a separate edition which is VAT compliant with that region too. So right now you can just create a edition like a organization with the respective countries, and once the VAT is implemented, you can directly switch over to that edition, and it will give you the tax options. So yeah, regarding the tax return report, if we choose the tax return report, we'll have an option to generate the VAT return report in the format in which the respective government requires it. So if I click on generate tax return report, it will ask me for the VAT return start and end date. So before that, I need to check one more thing. So if you see this, if you go to the VAT return settings, so I would have given the first tax return date as 1st April 2020. So essentially, see what this means is I was registered for VAT for my company on 1st of January 2019. But then I've started using Zoho Books from 1st of April 2020. So I want to generate the VAT return report only from 1st of April. Before that, I have managed it using some other platform, let's assume. So I'll just save it. And right now, I'll just be creating a transaction from 1st of, I mean, a VAT return report from 1st of April. So I'll just go to reports, tax returns, generate VAT return. So the start date, I'll give it as April 1st. And let's say the end date is, let's give it as today's date or end of this month. No, I'll go with today's date. So I'll generate the VAT return report. So here, the VAT return report will be generated in the same exact format in which the FTA requires it, or GAZT in Saudi Arabia for that matter, or NBR for Bahrain. So depending on the place of supply and the tax treatments that you choose, all the transactions and the values will be shown over here in the same exact format. So all that you will have to do is you just have to copy paste these values in the FTA or the VAT portal. So the bill of entry, the purchase which we recorded will be shown here. And all these options, all the other options will be displayed as per. And finally, you'll also be able to see the net VAT payable or the net VAT reclaimable based on the total input and the output VAT. Okay, so once I've filed this VAT return report, I can just mark it as filed over here. I can choose the date of filing. Okay, so yeah, I'll give it as tomorrow's date. Okay, so since I've given the VAT return date as 7th of October, I'll be allowed to file the VAT return report only by tomorrow. Okay, so yeah, basically once you mark it as filed, you will have an option to record the payment right over here. So let me also show you that option so that it's much more clear. So generate VAT return report. I'll give it as 6th of October. I'll mark it as file. that is on today's date. So once I mark the VAT return report as file, I'll be able to record the payment for that for that period. So since on 6th of October we do not have any transaction, the value is showing as 0, and we do not get an option for record payment. So let's just assume that we have marked, we have made a payment, like we have recorded the payment for this transaction. So if you go to accountant module from your dashboard and click on tax payment, so you'll find the total tax dues or the payment histories. Like whenever you record any payment, you'll be able to see all the details from here. Okay, so now you can try it on your side. Like you can go to the VAT return report, like you can click on tax returns and try generating a VAT return report. So if you have any dummy data or if you have created any transactions based on that value, it will show you the values in the VAT return report. Okay, so with this, like you can make sure that your VAT return is right in place, because the VAT return is completely dependent on the transactions that you have created and the values that you have chosen. So if you got all your transactions correct, your VAT return report will be absolutely all right. Okay, so yeah, with this, I hope like everyone is trying out the VAT return option. So if you have any queries in this, you can also let us know over the chat or over the questions tab. So we'll dive into the other options available in Zoho Books. Okay, so we have options to uh, transact with multiple currencies. So like I showed you when I created a customer or a vendor, so you will have an option to choose the currency. Since GCC, most of the organizations in GCC transact with multiple countries. Okay, so whenever you create a contact, like a customer or a vendor, you can choose the respective currency in which you would like to transact with them. So whenever you create a transaction, the transaction will be in their currency, and the respective entries for your reporting purpose will be available in your base currency. That is, journals and journal entries will be posted in your base currency. And then we have payment options. So we have online payment gateways wherein you can collect your payments directly from your customers. Okay, so the payment gateways will essentially collect the payment from the customers and deposit that into your bank account. And at the same time, like the payment for that will also be recorded in Zoho Books. So there won't be any human intervention in the whole process. It will be fully automated. So the next option, which is majorly used by all of our customers in Zoho Books, is the banking module. So here, the banking module is specifically meant for making your business more, making it much more easier. So yeah, basically, see here in the banking module, you'll be able to add your bank account. So if you go to the banking module from your dashboard, you will have an option to add your bank or your credit card. You can check and see whether if your bank is available in this list. Okay, so if it is available, you can choose that bank. So this will essentially fetch the feeds for you automatically from this bank. So you can directly match the feeds with the respective transactions and get your reconciliation done. So if at all your bank is not available in the list, not to worry, you can create an account manually and import the statements as a PDF or as a XLS file. So you can manually enter the bank name and the currency of the bank, and you can import the statements in that bank. So when you create a bank, this is how it will look like when you import the payments. So it will show you under uncategorize. You can just click on the particular transaction and it will show you the possible matches. You can directly match it with that transaction. And then we have the templates customization options. So templates customization is one of the major points where like many of our customers have an added advantage here, because the templates which we have are mostly VAT compliant. Okay, so VAT compliant as in like when you go to settings, templates, and if you choose the invoice template, for example, so we have dedicated options for showing the tax summary table. Okay, so many of our customers prefer to show the tax summary table because that will make it more VAT compliant for them. So you can just give the different information that are required. Okay, and under the total field, you will have an option to enable the tax summary table. So this will essentially show you the different tax, the tax related value, whatever the tax is. And yeah, during your audit time, so this will help your auditors to quickly go through the transactions. It will give you, if it will give them a clear picture on what is the value of the transaction and what is the tax, and based on that, it will be easier for them to audit the transactions. So the next thing is the alerts and automation. So here in Zoho Books, like we have a dedicated module for reminders and automation. So if you go to settings, and here you'll find reminders and automation. So under reminders, you'll be able to set reminders for different purposes, like for overdue invoices, for sent invoices. Depending on the criteria you require, you'll be able to set your own reminders. We also have the automation module, wherein you'll be able to perform much more advanced operations. So you can set up email alerts, like depending on different criterias, you can set up email alerts, and based on that, the workflow rules will be executed. So we also have options to show the in-app notification. So depending on criterias, like if you want any in-app notification to be displayed for you or for your users, you can have that set up over here. And we have other such options, like based on different criteria, if you want the fields to be updated, so all that can be updated. So webhooks is like if you if you would like to integrate any third-party applications, you can do that using webhooks. And then we have custom function, which is like an extended capability of Zoho Books. Okay, so we can do a lot of customizations here in this part, like with the help of a code. So if you have any in-house team, you can IT team, you can get in touch with them for a code, or you can also reach us at our support, toll free or chat support, and you can let us know your requirement. So based on that, we can have a custom function implemented for you, which will serve the requirement. Okay, so likewise, we have a lot of other options available in the automation part too. So the next thing that we'll be looking into is the budgets. So how to create a budget and manage a budget. So Mr. Abdul, from his business, for his photo retail business, so what he'll be doing is he needs to set up a specific budget. So what he'll do is, like, he can just go to accountant and he can click on budgets. Over here, they can create a new budget as per their requirement. So it will show all the transactions, like, I mean, all the chart of accounts from your organization. And for each and every organization, depending on the budget period, you can give the budgeted amount. So you can either give half yearly, quarterly. So for each of those, we have different options. You can fill in the budgets and you can save it. So if you have been using the budget a feature for more than a certain period of time, you can also pre-fill the previous year's actuals, based on which you can update the next year's budget. Okay, so right now, like, I'll just show you a budget which we have already created. So if you notice this, it will show you the transactions, like the budget value. And if you click on the view budget versus actuals on the top right corner, it will show you the comparison. Like if there is any, I mean, it will show you whether if you are within the budget limit or if you are more than the budget limit. Okay, so it will give you a clear picture on that. And yes, to be audit ready. So when all these things are in place, that is when you have created the right transaction with the right values, with the respective tax treatments, and at the same time, like the purchase bills, the expenses. So when you create all these transactions with the right values, you are good to go with for your audit. So we are once again have a dedicated report for VAT audit. So you can just choose this report under taxes. Here you'll be able to generate a FTA audit file. Okay, so you can just click on this particular report. It will ask you for the audit start and end date. So usually it will be like for the financial year. So you can give the date range, and this will compile all the data from that particular period and it will give you as a single file wherein all the transactions will be included. So this will make it much more easier for you and your accountants to get the audit done immediately and in a very simple way. So the next thing would be the integration capability that Abdul has with Zoho Books. So in Zoho Books, like the thing about Zoho is that, see, it is not only about Zoho Books. We have lot of other application. Like we have 45 plus application which can be integrated with Zoho Books. So for example, like we have a few applications over here. So few of them are Zoho CRM, Zoho Projects, and other finance application like inventory, expense subscription, HR application like People, and Zoho Analytics, which is an advanced report and dashboard application. So we have a lot of these other application as well. So when you integrate basically with Zoho CRM, and I mean when you integrate Zoho CRM with Zoho Books, so the Zoho CRM will help you to manage your potentials, your deals, your leads, and Zoho CRM will act as a front end. And when it is integrated with Zoho Books, so Zoho Books will become your backend. So all the transactions can be created from Zoho CRM directly and manage it from there itself. And in the backend, your accounting part will also start falling in place. And yeah, similarly, like if you have project accounting, you can integrate it with projects for advanced options. And then we have Zoho inventory integration. So for Zoho inventory, we have planned a separate seminar, like in a couple of weeks or so. Bala will be telling us about that too. So Zoho Inventory is a separate application which has advanced inventory capabilities. So we'll be giving more details on that on the later part of the day. And then we have Zoho Expense once again, which we have another session for. So this is to manage your employee reimbursements. And then we have Zoho Subscription for subscription model business. So the subscriptions can be managed in subscription application, and the accounting entries will be taken care by Zoho Books. So likewise, see, for each and every one of these application, we have different requirements. So whatever requirements that you have, you can let us know. We'll guide you or we'll show you the right path on which application you'll have to go with and how to get that done. So with that, I think I'll end up my session.